Intermediate Hwoarang Guide. So this is the follow-up after the basic Hwoarang Guide, which was released last week. Of course, when the videos all get released, right? So if the main focus of the basic Hwoarang Guide was simplicity and getting down the flow. So again, that's like knowing where you go from, like, again, LFF into RFS, in back into LFF, stuff like that. And knowing which options, what basic options you're going to be running. So like typically if you enter, let's say, left flamingo, you're going to be doing LFS1. If you enter right flamingo, you're typically doing RFS D4, stuff like that. So you are solidifying your base, your foundation, so that you don't get confused with the character. And by this time, when you watch this video, you should. Your homework, you should be done with the book of Hwoarang, basically. Or the list that exists here, the 146 moves. Because again, there are some moves that are not in this move list, but you will learn that over the course of your intermediate stay with Hwoarang. Before you go to the advanced Hwoarang guide. Again, feel free to subscribe to that when it comes out, right? Which is going to be the week after this. So, what are the main things you're going to get at a mid-level as Hwoarang? So again, you already established your foundations. You very comfortable with this kind of stuff and connecting the basic strats here and there. So if you saw that, I did RFS DF4 and then I connected it into the LFS1, and then you can still do the forward 1+2, right? So aside from that, I'm pretty sure you've already started exploring other options in Hwoarang's move list. So again, if they say do down 3-4, now you're doing RFS1, right? And it's -2 on block. And if, again, understanding of frames, the more negative you are, the less it's your turn in quotations. The more it's blue, the more it's in your turn, your positive frames in your turn in quotations, blah blah blah. So yes, you're very comfortable now and you're exploring new options. You probably did this thing. The DF3 cancels to show off your skill with the Taekwondo mix-up boy. So the character at large mainly does not change. Still a mix-up character, still a stance character, and that's highly reliant on how your opponent reacts towards the stances, what they know about the character, their options, their anti-options, and what you know about the character and how comfortable you are and knowledgeable you are with said strings and whatnot, right? So with that out of the way, let's talk about the issues and problems you are more or less going to get the moment you're at this level. So again, if you're at an intermediate understanding of Hwoarang, you'll start to realize that doing these basic options or connecting the basic strats don't do as much. Why? Hold on. Why? Why is that the case? Albeit what you hear at high level is that, again, simplicity is key. You can run the same option over and over again and, have a plethora of situations at your lap. But at this case, again, without that level of understanding yet and skills required to get to that point, running the same level running the same stuff may seem mundane, and it doesn't bring out another reaction out of your opponent. Mainly, this is the main point of it. So even if you are connecting it or changing your timings, your opponent still knows more or less that that's what you're going to be doing. So again, we're going to use the example of entering from LFF to right flamingo with down 3-4 and then ending it on RFS DF4, again +1 on block, and then connecting that with an LFS, you entering from LFF after RFS DF4 into LFS and going back to LFF, and then you may set up a forward 1+2, or you'll do another down 3-4 and try to connect it all over again. So other options now start to become enticing at this point, because again, these don't do as much effect yet. Once you hit the advanced level, the same scenario will have the same effect or more of an effect, but at mid-level not so yet. So it's adding more options to increase the number of situations you'll get, and of course to mow down your opponent with the amount of stuff they need to think about as they're fighting you. So let's say we use the same crutch situation as down T4, RFS DF4 on block. The new thing that you'll do is maybe, as was not introduced in the basic Hwoarang guide, is an up 4. So again, +1, +3. And this is a new situation. 16 frame mid that low crushes. So again, if they panic down jab in this particular scenario, they're going to lose. Again, let's demonstrate that. Let's have Hwoarang here. Repeat action. Down 3-4. And we'll have it as so. So I'm going to down jab right after RFS DF4, and I lose. Of course, naturally, the launcher isn't guaranteed, but you will have a lot of frames at your advantage. So at this point, it's not about getting it's still about getting comfortable, but it's adding more layers to a mix-up instead of using the same stuff that you already got comfortable with as your foundation. So after RFS DF4, instead of the basic stats, which is, entering that left or right, or entering it from there, you're going to be adding, let's say, an up 4 or a down 3-4 into an FF3, right? And how you do this is that, how you're gathering information now is that if you get interrupted after you do FF3, after RFS DF4, that means they're pressing a fast button. So that means you go for the jabs. So it's going to be a process of elimination at this point. So you're just going to keep throwing flamingo mix after flamingo mix, or stance mix, LFF to RFF at their face, and then you'll just keep eliminating which one loses depending on the option that they do. And of course, the moment they stop, what do you call this? Pressing, because you're going for the jabs again. Then that means you can rerun this again. So that's how you add layers to your mix-ups mainly. But of course, even if you are adding more options, the one negative thing that may happen is you're overwhelmed by the number of options you're doing, and you're not able to fully pinpoint which option they're denying or stopping, so that you know which option to run next. So again, we'll take the same scenario, down 3-4 into RFS DF4, and you do FF3. You're not fully sure, right? So you might get paralyzed and not press your buttons while you're still at your advantage, right? A frame advantage. Of course, resetting it back into backdash is great as well. But mainly you want to bring in more and more reactions. So that's another thing you could do. So again, see, as you can see, the number of options that exist just keep piling on and piling on. So again, go to the lab, get more comfortable with more and more options. Add 2 to 3 per stance. So again, my recommended for 2 to 3 per stance, right? So again, if we go for LFS, we're gonna add on to the basic level. So if the basic level was just the flamingo punch, we're gonna add this, the flamingo punch, and LFS2, and if not LFS2, LFS back 4. Mainly, those two. And then maybe we can throw out an LFS3. You just pick between those 3 mids, and then make sure you add LFS down back 4. Again, negative 12 low, perfect. But if you want to do down T4, go ahead. So see, that's 3 mid options, 2 low options. Take your pick. Make sure you pick one out of the 2. See, because we're trying to make 3 options per stance. And if it's right flamingo, again, right, the flamingo 2 punch, the flamingo axe kick. And then now we're gonna add, not the hell sweep. You thought it was gonna be the hell sweep. RFS F4. So another high option. 8 frames. I'll discuss this later as we go on through the guide. And of course, in LFF, up 4, right? Another way to enter flamingo really, really fast as a low crush. FF3, RFF. Again, if it goes on hit, a lot of your options are more or less quote-unquote guaranteed. And if it's on block, this is the key part. It's backdashable. That's what I mean by how your options may or may lose, because you'll notice that if you do this, sometimes the axe kick will lose. So if this is still on block, there you go, just like that. So that's why it's important to pile on 2 more options from the basic ones. So that was very windy. Let's go to key options, right? Key options or key moves, right? So there were a couple of key moves I gave. So a lot of the key moves more or less remain the same from basic to intermediate, but let's add a couple of more. So of course, the ones that are still constants, your best friends mainly, down 3-4, DF2 and back 3, always. Those guys will never change. They'll always be there. You're gonna need them, because they're at the crux of Hwoarang's gameplay. The other low, right? I did mention down back 3, again, it's a high crushing low. We're gonna add down back 4, because this gives you the flamingo option. And again, it's all about increasing the number of options, albeit remaining safe-ish. So if you want to throw out a low and they're catching your down back 3, and it's down back 3 is negative 13. So if you're playing a character who has like a 13 frame launcher or a strong 13 frame punisher, doing down back 4 is great, because they may or may not punish it. depending on if you enter Flamingos. Because if you enter Flamingo, this is -1. And if you don't enter Flamingo, it's -12. It's great. It's really, really good. And of course, that's where the RFS F4 comes in, because if they attempt to punish it with a while standing forward, this will counter hit launch. And if they attempt to down jab right after it, you can always just do air blade. If you have the read. Super important. Another move that I want to introduce at this level is forward 2. This is the mid chop, the Taekwondo mid chop. That is +9 on hit. Now, of course, your best option on hit immediately would be RFF DF4 into RFS 1. I did forget RFF earlier, right? For 3 options. So DF4, right, was one of the main options. RFF back 2, and then RFF down 4. And if not RFF down 4, just make it down 3, 4. Alright, so going back to forward 2. This is essentially a fully safe mid check option. So you can always fully run that the moment you get forward 2 to hit. And you can use that as your baseline in regards to gathering information and how they react. So again, if they block the whole thing, you can change it from midway and throw out RFS F4 and then connect it to the new other options, or bring it back to basic options and stuff like that. And of course, on block, the scenario is still good at -2 because you can still step at -2, right? So let's have Hwoarang here demonstrate that. We'll have him record forward 2, side step right, DF2. That should go in. Like so. Punish. If you see the blue indicator below the webcam overlay, yes, it punished. That's mainly one of the things you can do with forward 2 on block. Aside from, let's say, stepping, you could high crush with RFF back 4. So again, this launches. So if your opponent is, what do you call this, very jab heavy after this situation, you can always just RFF back 4. And if they're not jab heavy after forward 2, you could backlash. Again, very, very strong power crush. And if they're not ready for it, and if they're not doing basic jabs or something really fast like a DF1 and then block, they're going to get hit. They will have no time to recover. And if they continuously press buttons the whole time, for as long as you have enough HP, you should be fine. But if you're really low and you decide to run that option while you're low HP, you might lose. So run it at your own discretion. And the last one you could do is like a down jab. So again, if you do down 1, remember this is a -2 move on block. So that means this is essentially a 12 frame mid. And if not, if you use down 2, that's a 13 frame mid. That will easily trade with any character's DF1. Or if they have a 12 frame mid. So you don't lose as much. But just remember that those options are linear. So again, we'll have standing guard and we'll have him step. So I did forward 2, down jab. Oh wait, I need to do forward 2 first. Forward 2, then down jab, you see step. Forward 2, down jab, step right. So again, still a risk. You're eliminating it by option. So if they're stepping that means backlash is a great option at that point. And last but not the least, for key moves, you're gonna need this a lot because your opponents are because we're going again by the process of elimination from mix-ups. And you're gonna notice that stepping is an extremely powerful tool versus Hwoarang, and opponents are going to be doing that, is DF4. This is your main homing move as Hwoarang. It's a 16 frame mid that is +8 on hit. That doesn't have necessarily follow-ups, that they're more or less guaranteed. But you just really need to use it to prevent someone from stepping. So albeit its issues on hit, it's still safe on block at -8, so +8, -8. But it's mainly there just to prevent them from stepping. That's mainly it. If they backdash the options afterwards on hit, you just take note of that. Again, your best option is to always JFSR. And if not JFSR, RFF DF3. Those are your mainly best options. Everything else more or less gets backdash. Because we're not talking about movement yet. That's more for advanced Hwoarang guide. So we'll talk about punishment now. So I did list the whole punishment for the basic Hwoarang guide. So again, here, just for the intermediate Hwoarang guide, the whole list will be at the side, at the center of the screen right now. And of course, recommended was, 4-3, right? And it's still 4-3. You still mainly do 4-3. Of course, this goes in conjunction with how you are as a player. So what kind of playstyle do you want to use for Hwoarang? You have to decide that now at an intermediate level. Do you want to be more offensive, neutral, or more defensive? Again, I have a video on that. Links are all in the description below. So If you want to start making more and more options that's in line with, let's say, the intermediate, this intermediate Hwoarang guide, you will enter Flamingo. So let's say if anything is negative 14 below and the jabs reach, you're going to do Flamingo options immediately. Because again, this plus 11G is very, very good, and it's going to keep you safe the entire time. Because there's nothing that you cannot really interrupt much. And then let's say if you're always entering the right Flamingo after it, RFS D4 is more or less guaranteed. And of course, 4-3 still has its options. You do the forward 1+2, or you can cancel it now into Flamingo. So let's say you get the 4 to hit, and then you down 3-4, stuff like that. But again, mainly I'd highly recommend 4-3, because albeit after all the mix-ups you're doing and whatnot, when you get into your opponent's face and you know what options you're eliminating each one, so that you know which options to run best, 4-3 is there to keep you anchored, just in case your offense doesn't run as well. And if your offense is running well, even better, because this is a 30 damage 11 frame Punisher, and it's +5, so you can run even more options off it. Well, not as many options as the Flamingo, but you get the point. At this point, if you block something that's stagger low, right, you should be launching it already. I did mention up back 3-3 was key, and I cannot stress enough how much this is key. You need up back 3-3. If you can't CC back 3 yet, you crouch cancel back 3, or do a neutral hop kick, which is doing up forward neutral 4 after a stagger low. Up back 3-3 is enough. Make sure you have this down. Do not, what do you call this? At basic level, this is still passable while standing 3 into FF3, or while standing 3 into back 3. At an intermediate level, it's no longer passable. You must up back 3-3. If you're not up back 3-3ing, again, think of these Punishers as anchors for you, just in case all your other options, you're having difficulty with them and they're not running as properly. They're there to save you and give you another chance throughout the game, just in case you block one of something that's unsafe or really, really unsafe, in case of up back 3-3. Speaking of up back 3-3, BnBs, combos. So if the basic combo I talked about in the basic Hwoarang guide was F4 back 4 into FF4, 3-4 back 4, it's time to put this to rest. You do not use this combo. You only use it for situation basis, depending on your position from the wall. But now, at this point, as an intermediate, as a mid-level Hwoarang player, you should be able to do the Season 1 BnB, right, which is Peacekeeper. And you have the dash RFF forward 3 post tailspin already. And you have the Season 2 BnB as well, which is F4 back 4, F4 back 3. And you don't need to necessarily do that ender, RFF forward 3, LFS back 3. So ending it on 3-4, or DF 3-4, or running 3, or DF 3+4 will suffice. But mainly, get all the BnB combos down. So again, see the Season 1 BnB and the Season 2 BnB they apply to, let's say, the DF2, the back 3, LFS up forward 4, yeah, up neutral hop kick, all the stuff that follow that same pattern of launching. It also applies to, what do you call this, the right plasma blade, back turn plasma blade, etc. So that applies also for the BnBs of the other combos. So again, forward 1+2, Season 1 BnB is applicable here, so you make sure you run that. For the axe kick, no longer do down back 4-4, right? Any combo that involves that kind of crumple stun, you do not do that anymore. Instead, you do down back 4 into 1, and then you just customize it from there. So again, an example of this would be down back 4, 1, 1-2-4 back 4, and then either you do the Thunderbolt combo, or again you end it with the Season 2 enders 3-4, DF 3-4, running 3, DF 3+4, etc. This is very, very important that you get BnB combos down, and there's a good number of Hwoarang BnB videos out there on YouTube. So search one of them, and of course even resources there's available. So again, the combo sheet will be available in the link description below, as well as the Hwoarang combo videos I did as well. That's there. So BnBs, make sure you have them, because aside from Punishers being an anchor for you, you want to make sure that the moment you get a launcher, you're getting damage. And by damage, we mean damage. You're not getting meager damage like the basic combo I gave in the basic Hwoarang guide. You're actually getting actual damage. So let's talk about strats, mid-level strats. So this is going to be in conjunction to the moves I mentioned earlier. So let's talk about down back 4 and why this is so good. Of course, I explained it in the RFS F4 mix-up, but I'll explain it here as well. So again, mainly, this is a low that gives you an option to enter offense and keeps you really safe at -12, which is super, super important. Again, -12. So you're not going to get hit by a big thing. And from here, a basic stat for you to do is that you do down back 4 either on hit or on block. It doesn't really matter. Then you do RFS F4. You don't need to commit to RFS F4 because again, that only launches on counter hit. Again, the second hit gets blocked, and they can just duck that on reaction the moment you throw out RFS F4. That's what they're mainly looking for. So you can just press this until they crouch or press a high crushing button. By then, you should be able to get an idea of when they may duck. And that's when you throw the air blade, RFS up forward 4, or Hwoarang's Twaha, as Bex's the Raha. Another strat you could do is 1 RFS F4 into RFS 2. And then, you're connecting it back to the basic strats. And then from this point, you could do a down 3-4 into RFS DF4 into a down back 4. So you're connecting mid-level to basic level mid-strats right now. That's mainly one of the things you can do with the RFS F4, and mainly off down back 4. And of course, this applies to anything from right flamingo. So if one of the basic strats was to do this again, right, 1-2-4 and 2 RFS 2, you can do 1-2-4 RFS F4 instead. And then it's the same options, from there. You do it once and then you go back to reset back to RFF. Play around with it. The next one is the RFF 2-4. So this is gonna get highly connected to RFS because you can do this from RFS. Like if I enter right flamingo, you can do RFS 2-4, and in RFF you can do RFF 2-4 forward, right? So if we connect it back to the RFS F4 one, let's say you do down back 4, RFS F4. Instead of doing RFS 2, you do RFS 2-4 forward, and then you do RFS 2 again, RFS F4 again, RFS 2 down 3-4, axe kick, 1-2-4. You get it. It's gonna be super important because this move jails. This is a +7 move that jails. And of course, if it gets on hit, it's +1,000,000. Press your axe kick. More or less guaranteed. If they press a button, of course. And if they're not pressing a button, you could always stand switch down 3-4. So it's another way of keeping them locked in place, like so. And then you can keep it with that, and then you can stand switch down 3-4. Again, just mix and match all the possible options. You connect it again with the 3 options per stance and the basic strats from the basic Hwoarang guide, blah blah blah. The last mid-level strat I will give is LFS forward 3. This move. So this is Beck's move, the rocket launcher kick. Again, this does not track, but this is +4 on block. So mainly what you're going to be doing is that as soon as you get this on block, you're going to press LFS 1. Because it is uninterruptible. It is steppable, but it's not uninterruptible. So we're going to have Hwoarang here do it. Into forward 1+2, the classic strat. And I will press a button during LFS forward 3. And I can't interrupt anything at all. So mainly that's the main point of it. So you'll do that. And then you can connect all the other options from there. And if it goes on, what do you call this? On block, and you don't want to do LFS 1, you can always connect it to down 3-4, and then you can connect it to all the other stuff. RFS 2-4, RFS F4, stand switch down 3-4, axe kick, basic strat, so on and so forth. This also is applicable with CD3. These two are more or less the same move, except CD3 is closer compared to LFS forward 3 if you noticed. Like you see how close Hwoarang is. As compared to LFS forward 3, there is a distance between him and his opponent. So again, if you want to run the LFS 1 to forward 1+2, doing it off CD3 is far better compared to doing it off LFS forward 3. But LFS forward 3 gives you a little bit more space and gives you the more mix-up options in a sense, right? So to round it up for an intermediate Hwoarang, you're going to be using more options now, and you're going to be looking at how they're beating their options. You're gonna basically do it by a process of elimination. Okay, I'm gonna do RFS 2. Oh, okay. What do you call this? They high crushed me when I did enter Flamingo. Okay, so I'll throw out a low crushing move immediately right after I enter Flamingo. Or let's say they don't block the low crush, your low crushing move, right? Okay, so that means I can do this. So your guy is gonna do it by process of elimination based on the option that they're doing to beat your said option, and then you're just gonna keep looking at what option next to use in order to continue chipping and getting damage off your opponent. Of course, again, these are major anchors for you, crutches mainly. Crutches, yeah. These are gonna keep you alive mainly, because if you're having difficulty, it's a long process of understanding the options and doing it by a process of elimination for mix-ups and whatnot. So at this point, again, decide whether you're going to become more offensive, more neutral, or more defensive as a Hwoarang, because that's going to shape your Hwoarang moving into the advanced levels of higher levels as a Hwoarang. Albeit you'll have to learn all the styles, but you'll still be more inclined, biased, or better. One of the three words, right? At one of the three styles available to Hwoarang. Super, super important. And yes, I believe I was going to say something, but I forgot it. And that's going to be the Hwoarang life for you. You may forget an option here and there, or how did he react here, so I may have to do it again and whatnot and all that kind of stuff. Oh, I was talking about the right. So again, Punisher is super, super important. 4-3, up back 3-3. Must. It's a must. And make sure all your combos BnB level, so that you're getting actual damage, not just meager damage off the basic combo F4 back 4 FF4. You get actual damage with Peacekeeper Season 1 and F4 back 3 Season 2. So yeah, that has been the cheese. That's been the cheese. Yeah. I've been Frontier, and thank you for watching. See you in the advanced Hwoarang, guys. I wrote it last night. I'm proud. Like, yes, I have it. Because I'm more or less going to be repeating a lot of the stuff I said from the basic Hwoarang, guys. It's just that the perspective's just a little bit different, right? Just a little bit different.